Two pink lines changed everything. For 12 weeks, she'd survived the unthinkable. Endured an arrangement that stripped away her dignity. Participated in her own punishment because guilt told her she deserved it. But then something unexpected happened. She fell in love. With the stranger her husband chose. With the man who brought her tea and asked about her dead son. With someone who saw her, really saw her, for the first time in 3 years. And for a few stolen moments, she believed love might actually be enough. She was wrong. Because the positive pregnancy test that should have meant freedom? It was just the beginning of something far worse. Her phone buzzed. One message. Cold. Final. And when she tried to reach Darius, tried to warn him about the danger she could feel gathering like storm clouds, the number was disconnected. His apartment, emptied. His existence, erased. Like he'd never been real at all. But Yuna knew better. She'd lived with Kang Jae-won's cruelty for 3 years. She'd watched him destroy competitors with surgical precision. She'd learned that when her husband eliminated problems, he did it thoroughly. And Darius? The man she loved? He'd just become her husband's biggest problem. Now Yuna faces an impossible choice. Stay silent and safe, protecting the child growing inside her. Or fight back and risk losing everything, including the baby that might be her last chance at redemption. Welcome to Part 2. Where love becomes a weapon. Where victims become warriors. And where one woman will discover that the most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone underestimated. Welcome back. If you're here, it means Part 1 destroyed you in all the right ways. It means you felt Yuna's pain, Darius's desperation, and that moment when they chose each other despite everything. But I need you to do something before we continue. Here's the truth, when I started Afro Soul Romance Hub, someone close to me told me it wouldn't work. Nobody wants these stories, they said. The audience is too small, but every view, every subscriber, every person who stays until the end proves them wrong. You prove them wrong. If this story is making you feel something, if you care about what happens to Yuna and Darius, then subscribe. Show the algorithm that Afro-Korean Romance Hub deserves space. Show the world that these love stories matter. Let's build this together. Hit that subscribe button and let's prove the doubters wrong. Now, let's see what happens next. Yuna woke up nauseous. Not the emotional nausea she'd lived with for 3 years, the kind that came from guilt and grief and self-loathing. This was physical. Immediate. Urgent. She barely made it to the bathroom before her stomach emptied itself. When the heaving finally stopped, she sat on the cold marble floor, forehead pressed against the toilet, breathing hard. No. Please, no. Not yet. But her body knew before her mind accepted it. The tenderness in her breasts. The exhaustion that felt like weights tied to her bones. The way certain smells, coffee, Minyoung's perfume, the lilies in the hallway, made her stomach revolt. She knew these signs. She'd felt them once before, 9 years ago, when Minho was growing inside her. With shaking hands, Yuna opened the cabinet under her sink. In the back, hidden behind tampons and skincare products she never used, was a box she'd bought 3 weeks ago. Just in case. Just to be prepared. She pulled out the pregnancy test. Stared at it. This should be good news, she thought. This means the arrangement ends. This means I get what Jae-won wanted. This means I can stop. But all she felt was dread. Because ending the arrangement meant losing Darius. And she wasn't ready for that. She wasn't ready to go back to being alone in this beautiful, suffocating prison. Do it, she told herself. Get it over with. She took the test. Set it on the counter. Waited. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. She didn't look. Couldn't look. Just stood there staring at her reflection in the mirror. Pale. Thin. Eyes that held too much pain for one person. You look like a ghost, she thought. You look like you died 3 years ago and forgot to stop breathing. Her phone timer went off. She looked down. 2 pink lines. Clear. Unmistakable. Definitive. Pregnant. Yuna's knees gave out. She slid down the wall, test still clutched in her hand, and felt something crack inside her chest. She should be happy. Should be relieved. Should be. Her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. She opened it with trembling fingers. Congratulations. I've been monitoring your cycle. I assumed this week would be the one. Please confirm the result with Dr. Chen at the clinic today at 10 a.m. Appointment already scheduled. JK. The clinical tone. The monitoring of her cycle. The appointment scheduled before she even knew. Of course. Of course Jae-won had been tracking everything. Probably had someone watching her bathroom trash. Probably knew the exact day her period was supposed to start and hadn't. He knew before she did. Another text came through. Contract with Mr. Kim is hereby terminated. Final payment will be transferred by end of business today. You are not to contact him. He has been informed of the situation. This arrangement is complete. Yuna's hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. No contact. Terminated. Complete. She tried calling Darius. Her fingers fumbled over the screen, muscle memory finding his number even though they'd never called each other outside of contract. We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. She tried again. Same message. She opened her text thread with him. They'd only exchanged a handful of messages, careful, cautious, nothing that could be used as evidence. She typed, I need to talk to you. Please. It's urgent. The message turned green instead of blue. Message failed to deliver. Her chest tightened. Panic rising like floodwater. She tried a third time. A fourth. A fifth. Nothing. Disconnected. Gone. No. No, no, no. A knock on her bedroom door made her jump. Ma'am? Minyoung's voice, soft and concerned. Mr. Kong requests you join him for breakfast. He says it's important. Yuna looked at the positive test in her hand. At her phone showing failed messages. At her reflection in the mirror, a woman who just realized the cage door had been locked from the outside. Tell him, she said, voice hollow, I'll be down in 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Footsteps retreated. Yuna stood slowly. Hid the pregnancy test in the back of her drawer. Washed her face. Applied makeup to cover the evidence of tears. Put on the armor of expensive clothes and perfect composure. You can do this, she told herself. You've survived worse. But the reflection in the mirror called her a liar. Jae-won was already seated at the table when Yuna entered. He looked pleased. Actually pleased. A small smile played at the corners of his mouth, the first genuine emotion she'd seen from him in months. Good morning, he said. Almost cheerful. Please, sit. Yuna sat. The chair felt too hard. Everything felt too hard. I trust you received my messages, Jae-won continued, spreading jam on his toast with deliberate precision. Yes. And you've confirmed? She nodded. Words felt impossible. Excellent. He took a bite. Chewed. Swallowed. Dr. Soo-jin is the best obstetrician in Utah. She's handled several high-profile pregnancies. Very discreet. She'll monitor you closely. We can't afford any complications. Like last time, Yuna whispered. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Jae-won's smile faded slightly. This is different. Last time, you were careless. This time, you'll have the best care available. I've made sure of it. Careless. The word was a knife between her ribs. What about Darius? The question escaped before she could stop it. Jae-won looked up slowly. His eyes went cold. What about him? His number is disconnected. I can't. You're not supposed to contact him. Jae-won's voice was ice. The contract clearly stated no contact outside of scheduled encounters. That arrangement is complete. He's been compensated. His role is finished. But? There is no but, Yuna. He set down his knife with a soft clink. Mr. Kim was a service provider. Nothing more. Surely you didn't forget that. She had forgotten. Or maybe she'd never believed it in the first place. I'd like to thank him, she tried. Desperate. For fulfilling his obligation. It seems only polite. No. The word was final. You will not contact him. You will not see him. You will not think about him. Your focus now is on carrying this pregnancy to term safely. On giving me an heir. On fulfilling your obligation. Jae-won leaned forward. Unless there's a reason you're so concerned about Mr. Kim's well-being? The question was a trap. Yuna recognized the sharpness in his voice. The way he watched her face for any tell. No, she said. Forcing her voice steady. No reason. I just thought common courtesy. Courtesy isn't necessary. He was well compensated. Jae-won returned to his breakfast. Now. We have matters to discuss. I'm announcing the pregnancy to the board next week. We'll need a story. Something that makes sense given our situation. What kind of story? IVF. We'll say we've been pursuing fertility treatments quietly for the past year. That we didn't want to announce until we were certain. The board will be thrilled. Mother will be insufferable, but pleased. He smiled. Everything is falling into place. Yuna's stomach turned. Not from morning sickness this time. What if someone asks questions, she asked. About the timeline. About. No one will ask questions. I control the narrative. His eyes met hers. Sharp. Cold. Just like I control everything else. The threat was clear. You're mine. The baby is mine. Even your story is mine. Yes, Yuna whispered. Of course. Good. Jae-won checked his watch. I have a meeting at 9:30. I've arranged for Mr. Shin to drive you to Dr. Sujin's office at 9:45. Wear something appropriate. She'll be taking photos for the medical file. He wheeled toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Yuna? Congratulations. You've finally done something useful. Then he left. Yuna sat alone at the breakfast table, surrounded by food she couldn't eat, in a house that felt more like a mausoleum than a home. She pressed her hand to her stomach. Barely anything there yet. Just cells dividing. A possibility. A future. I'm sorry, she thought to the tiny life inside her. I'm sorry you're coming into this. I'm sorry your father is a monster and your mother is too weak to protect you. I'm sorry I love someone I can never see again. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it desperately. Maybe Darius had found a way. But it was just a calendar reminder. Dr. Sujin, 10 a.m. Yuna closed her eyes and tried to remember how to breathe. Meanwhile, 8:47 a.m., Darius's apartment. Darius woke up to pounding on his door. Disoriented, he stumbled out of bed. Checked his phone, 8:47 a.m. He'd fallen asleep at 3 a.m. after spending hours trying to convince himself that everything was fine. That the silence from Yuna was normal. That the weird feeling in his gut was just paranoia. The pounding came again. Harder. Darius Kim. Open up. Male voice. Authoritative. Angry. Darius opened the door. Two men stood there. One in a suit, Korean, mid-40s, the same man who'd approached him at the construction site all those weeks ago. The other in casual clothes but with the build and bearing of someone who'd spent time in the military or private security. Mr. Kim, the suited man said. Not friendly. We need to talk. Who are you? We work for Mr. Kong. May we come in? It wasn't really a question. Darius stepped aside. They entered. The security guy immediately did a visual sweep of the apartment. Looking for what? Evidence? Weapons? Witnesses? What's this about? Darius asked, pulse climbing. The arrangement is complete, the suited man said. Mrs. Kong is pregnant. Therefore, your services are no longer required. The words hit like a physical blow. Pregnant. It worked. It was over. Okay, Darius managed. That's good. That was the goal. Yes. Your final payment of $200,000 has been transferred to your account. You'll find the funds available now. The man pulled out a tablet. However, we need you to sign some additional paperwork. What kind of paperwork? An extension of the non-disclosure agreement. Specifically regarding any personal interactions you may have had with Mrs. Kong beyond the contractual obligations. Darius's blood went cold. What are you talking about? Mr. Kong wants assurance that you understand the boundaries. That you won't attempt to contact Mrs. Kong. That you won't make any claims regarding the child. That you'll disappear from her life completely. The man's voice was clinical. Sign here. He held out the tablet. Darius stared at the screen. Dense legal language. Basically said, admit you have no rights, no claim, no relationship. Admit you were a transaction. Admit you don't matter. And if I don't sign? The security guy shifted slightly. Not threatening. Not yet. But the implication was clear. You'll sign, the suited man said. Because you're smart. Because you understand how the world works. Because $250,000 is life-changing money for someone like you. He paused. And because Mr. Kong can be very unpleasant when people don't cooperate. Darius wanted to refuse. Wanted to tell them to fuck off. Wanted to demand to see Yuna, to talk to her, to make sure she was okay. But the security guy's hand had drifted toward his jacket. And Darius's military training recognized a weapon bulge when he saw one. He signed. Excellent, the suited man said, taking back the tablet. Now. Your phone. What? Your phone. Give it to me. Why? Because Mr. Kong wants to ensure there's no confusion about contact boundaries. Darius's jaw tightened. You're going to disconnect my number. We're going to provide you with a new phone. New number. Clean start. The man smiled. Consider it a gift. It wasn't a gift. It was a leash. But what choice did he have? Darius handed over his phone. The security guy immediately pulled the SIM card. Snapped it. Dropped the pieces in his pocket. The suited man handed Darius a new phone. Still in the box. Your contacts have been transferred. Except for one. I'm sure you understand. Yuna's number. Gone. If you attempt to contact Mrs. Kong through any means, social media, email, third parties, showing up at her home, the consequences will be severe. Legal at minimum. Potentially worse. The man's eyes were flat. Do you understand? Yeah, Darius said roughly. I understand. Good. Oh, and one more thing. Mr. Kong suggests you might want to consider relocating. Perhaps out of state. Utah is expensive. With your newfound financial stability, you could start fresh somewhere else. California, perhaps. Isn't your mother in Oakland? The mention of his mother felt like a threat. We know where she is. We know who matters to you. We can reach anyone. I'll think about it, Darius managed. You do that. The suited man stood. Congratulations on fulfilling your contract, Mr. Kim. I'm sure you'll put the money to good use. They left. Darius stood in his apartment, holding a phone that didn't feel like his, with a bank account full of blood money, and the sick realization that he'd just been erased from Yuna's life. He opened the new phone. Checked his messages. Nothing from Yuna. Couldn't be. Her number was gone. Deleted. Removed like she'd never existed. He wanted to punch something. Wanted to scream. Wanted to drive to that mansion and demand to see her. But he'd signed papers. Made promises. Been threatened in a way that was professional enough to be legal and scary enough to be effective. She's pregnant, he thought. She's carrying my child. And I'll never see either of them again. He sat on his couch and put his head in his hands. And for the first time since prison, Darius Kim cried. 10:47 a.m., Dr. Soo-jin's office. The ultrasound showed a tiny blob on the screen. Barely anything. Just cells and potential. 6 weeks, Dr. Soo-jin said, smiling. Right on schedule. Everything looks healthy. Yuna stared at the screen. That was her baby. That's Darius's baby, she thought. And he doesn't even know. He'll never know. Mrs. Kong? Dr. Soo-jin's voice pulled her back. Are you all right? You look pale. I'm fine. Morning sickness? Yes. Perfectly normal. I'll prescribe something. Dr. Soo-jin printed out photos from the ultrasound. Here. For your records. Yuna took the photos. Stared at the tiny blob that would become a person. A person who would never know their real father. Who would grow up thinking Jae-won, cold, cruel Jae-won, was their dad. When should I come back? She asked. 2 weeks. We'll do another ultrasound. Make sure everything's progressing normally. Dr. Soo-jin patted her hand. Try to rest. Reduce stress. This is a happy time, Mrs. Kong. Try to enjoy it. Happy, Yuna thought. Right. She left the clinic with ultrasound photos and a prescription she wouldn't fill and a heart that felt like it was breaking in slow motion. Mr. Shin drove her home in silence. When they pulled up to the estate, she saw Jae-won's car already in the driveway. He was waiting. Yuna walked inside, exhaustion dragging at her bones. Jae-won was in his office. Door open. Clearly expecting her. Well, he asked when she appeared in the doorway. 6 weeks. Everything's normal. Excellent. He smiled. Actually smiled. I've already started making plans. Nursery renovation. Hiring a nanny. We'll want someone who speaks Korean. And I need to lie down, Yuna interrupted. I'm not feeling well. His smile faded. Of course. Rest. You're carrying precious cargo now. Cargo, she thought bitterly. Not a baby. Cargo. She went to her room. Locked the door. Lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Her phone sat on the nightstand. Silent. Useless. She picked it up anyway. Scrolled to Darius's contact. Pressed call. We're sorry. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. She tried texting. Message failed to deliver. She opened every social media app she had. Searched for Darius Kim. Found 20 profiles. None of them him. He was gone. Erased. Like he'd never existed. Yuna pressed the ultrasound photo to her chest and cried until she had no tears left. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. Grief began turning into something sharper. Something harder. Something that felt dangerously close to rage. He took everything from me, she thought. My son. My dignity. My body. And now the one person who made me feel human again. Enough. But rage without action was just noise. And Yuna didn't know yet how to fight back. She just knew she was tired of being a victim. That would have to be enough. For now. That night, while Yuna slept fitfully, Jae-won sat in his office reviewing security footage. 12 weeks of encounters. 12 weeks of watching his wife transform from obedient ghost to something alive. He watched the night Darius brought tea. The night they talked for 2 hours. The night they made love instead of completing a transaction. He watched every whispered, I love you. He watched them become human. And he smiled. Because human meant vulnerable. Human meant breakable. Human meant they'd both make mistakes. He picked up his phone. Dialed. Mr. Park? It's time. I have a job for you. On the other end, Park Dong-min, the cleaner, answered, What kind of job? The permanent kind, Jae-won said. I'm tired of loose ends. 3 days passed. Yuna existed in a fog of morning sickness and grief and the slowly building realization that she was completely trapped. Darius spent those same 3 days packing his apartment, avoiding Mr. Choi's questions, and trying to convince himself that walking away was the right thing to do. Neither of them knew that on the 4th day, everything would change. That Yuna would see something that made her blood run cold. That Darius would receive an invitation that felt wrong in every possible way. And that the countdown to violence had already begun. Day 4 after positive test, Monday, 6:12 a.m. Yuna couldn't sleep. Morning sickness kept her awake, but it wasn't just that. It was the silence. The suffocating feeling that she was being buried alive in expensive sheets and designer furniture. She stood at her bedroom window, watching the sun rise over the Wasatch Mountains, when she saw it. A black SUV pulling out of their estate. Early. Too early for staff. And behind the wheel, Park Dong-min. Yuna's blood went cold. She knew that man. Knew what he did for Jae-won. Security consultant was the official title. But everyone in their circle understood what that really meant. Park Dong-min made problems disappear. Business rivals who got too aggressive. Former employees who threatened to talk. Anyone who became inconvenient. And now he was leaving their estate at 6 a.m., looking like a man with a job to do. Yuna grabbed her phone. Tried Darius's number again, even though she knew it wouldn't work. The number you have dialed. She hung up. Paced her room. Thought frantically. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe he's just. But she couldn't convince herself. She'd seen that look on Park's face before. 3 years ago, right before one of Jae-won's competitors suddenly decided to sell his company and move to Singapore. 2 years ago, before a journalist investigating Kong Industries stopped publishing articles and accepted a job in Australia. Park Dong-min was a problem solver. And Darius had just become a problem. Yuna grabbed a robe, left her room, and moved quietly through the house. It was early enough that most of the staff hadn't arrived yet. Just the security guard at the front door and Min-young preparing breakfast in the Kitsujin. She needed information. Needed to know what Jae-won was planning. His office door was closed but not locked. He rarely locked it. Who would dare enter without permission? Yuna dared. She slipped inside, heart hammering. His computer was off, but his desk was covered in papers. Files. Notes. She rifled through them quickly, hands shaking. Board meeting minutes. Financial reports. Construction permits for. She froze. A manila folder. Labeled simply, DK, Termination Protocol. Yuna opened it with trembling hands. Inside. Photos of Darius. Surveillance photos. Outside his apartment. At construction sites. At the grocery store. A background report. Even more detailed than what she'd seen before. Including his mother's address in Oakland. Mr. Choi's medical information. His daily routines. A timeline. Target acquisition window, March 15th to 20th. A location, optimal site, Wasatch Hunting Grounds, private access road. And at the bottom, in Jae-won's handwriting, make it look accidental. No connections. Complete erasure. The folder slipped from her hands. No. Oh God, no. He was going to kill Darius. Not threaten. Not scare. Kill. Find something interesting? Yuna spun around. Jae-won sat in his wheelchair in the doorway, watching her with cold amusement. Her voice failed. You broke into my office. Went through my private files. He wheeled into the room. That's very unlike you, Yuna. You're usually so obedient. What is this? She pointed at the scattered papers with a shaking hand. What are you planning? Clean up. Simple as that. Clean up? Her voice rose. You're planning to murder him. Murder is such an ugly word. Jae-won picked up the folder calmly. I prefer risk mitigation. Mr. Kim fulfilled his contract. But he also became attached. That's problematic. He won't say anything. The NDA. The NDA is just paper. Feelings are dangerous. People do stupid things when they have feelings. His eyes bored into hers. You, for example. Right now. Breaking into my office because you're worried about him. That's stupid. Yuna's legs felt weak. You can't do this. I can do whatever I want. He said it so simply. So matter-of-factly. I have the resources. The connections. The motivation. And most importantly, I have the legal protection. Mr. Kim is nobody. Ex-con. No family besides an elderly landlord and a sick mother. If he disappears, who's going to ask questions? I will. Jae-won laughed. Actually laughed. No, you won't. Because you're pregnant with my heir. Because you have no proof. Because you signed contracts that make you complicit. And because if you try to warn him, I'll know. He gestured around the room. I've been watching you, Yuna. I've been watching both of you. For weeks. Her stomach dropped. What? The guest suite has cameras. Did you really think I'd arrange this whole situation without surveillance? I've seen every conversation. Every tender moment. Every time you forgot this was supposed to be a transaction and made it something real. His voice went sharp. I watched you fall in love with him. And I let it happen. Because watching you think you'd found happiness, and then taking it away, that's much more satisfying than just making you miserable. Yuna felt like she might vomit. You're a monster. I'm a man who lost his son because of your carelessness. I'm a man who lost his body because you couldn't stop reaching for your fucking phone while driving. I'm a man who gets to decide how the story ends. He wheeled closer. And I've decided Mr. Kim's story ends in the woods. Hunting accident. Very tragic. Very final. When? The word came out strangled. Why would I tell you that? Please. She was begging now. Didn't care. Please don't do this. I'll do anything. You'll what? You've already given me what I want. The baby is mine. The company's secured. My legacy is protected. He smiled. There's nothing left for you to offer. Then why? Tears streamed down her face. Why kill him? He's no threat to you. Because he made you smile. Jaewon's voice went soft. Deadly. Because he made you feel alive. Because when I watched that footage of you laughing in his arms, I realized, you never looked at me that way. Not even before the accident. Not even when we were happy. His mask cracked slightly, showing something raw and wounded underneath. So yes. I'm going to erase him. And you'll live with that. Just like I live with Minho being gone. He wheeled toward the door. I have a meeting. Stay out of my office. And Yuna? He glanced back. If you try to warn him, if you try to run, if you try anything heroic, I'll make sure his mother's medical insurance gets mysteriously cancelled. I'll make sure Mr. Choi's business license gets revoked. I'll destroy every person he cares about. He paused. And then I'll still kill him anyway. But I'll make it hurt more. He left. Yuna collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by files and photos and evidence of a murder that hadn't happened yet. She had no phone number for Darius. No way to reach him. No proof that would hold up against Jaewon's lawyers and money and connections. She was completely powerless. Again. But then her eyes landed on something in the scattered papers. A business card that had fallen out of the folder. Salt Lake City Outdoor Adventures, Guided Hunting Experiences. And on the back, handwritten, Private Reservation, March 18th, 3 p.m. Guest, D. Kim. 3 days from now. Yuna grabbed the card. She couldn't call Darius. Couldn't warn him directly. But maybe, she could find him. If she was brave enough. If she was fast enough. If she could become someone other than the weak, broken woman she'd been for 3 years. She stood up. Wiped her eyes. And felt that spark of rage from yesterday grow into something bigger. Something dangerous. I can't save myself, she thought. But maybe I can save him. And maybe that's enough. Meanwhile, Darius's apartment. Darius was packing when his new phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him pick up. Mr. Kim? A woman's voice. Professional. Cheerful. This is Sarah from Salt Lake City Outdoor Adventures. I'm calling to confirm your guided hunting experience for March 18th at 3 p.m. Darius frowned. I didn't book a hunting trip. Oh. My apologies. Let me check my notes. Papers rustling. Yes, it says here that Mr. Kong Jaewon booked and paid for the experience as a gift. To thank you for your services to his company. Is that correct? Every hair on Darius's neck stood up. A gift, he repeated slowly. Yes. A private guided hunt in the Wasatch Mountains. Beautiful area. Our guide, Tom, is one of the best. He'll meet you at the trailhead. All equipment provided. Should be a wonderful day. Darius's military training was screaming at him. This is wrong. This is a setup. This is. Can I reschedule? He asked carefully. Oh. The woman sounded disappointed. Well, technically yes, but Mr. Kong specifically requested this date. He mentioned he'd like to join you for part of the experience. He's quite excited about it. Jaewon. Who can't walk? Who can't hunt? Who wants to meet me in the woods? Every instinct told Darius to say no. To hang up. To pack his shit and leave Utah today. But refusing would make him look suspicious. Would make Jaewon wonder if he knew something. Would maybe escalate whatever was being planned. Better to play along. Better to be prepared. Better to. Yeah, Darius said. Confirm the reservation. I'll be there. Wonderful. We'll send you the location details via email. Have a great day, Mr. Kim. She hung up. What is the word count? 5:23 a.m. Darius stood in his half-packed apartment, staring at his phone, feeling the trap closing around him. He opened his laptop. Googled, Kong J1 dangerous. Nothing concrete. But rumors. Whispers. A competitor who died in a car accident. An employee who committed suicide. A journalist who moved abroad. Patterns. Suspicious patterns. Darius had survived prison because he learned to see threats before they materialized. And this? This was a threat. He called his friend, the ex-military buddy who'd helped him during the hunting trip conversation. Marcus. It's Darius. I need a favor. What's up? I'm going on a hunting trip in 3 days. If I don't check in with you by 6 p.m. that day, I need you to call the police. Tell them to check the Wasatch hunting grounds. And tell them to investigate Kong J1. Silence. Then, Darius, what the hell are you into? Something bad. Something that might get me killed. Just, promise me. If something happens, don't let it be swept under the rug. Jesus. Okay. I promise. But maybe don't go? Maybe just. I have to. If I don't show up, it'll make things worse. I just need to be prepared. They talked for 20 more minutes. Marcus reminded him of survival techniques. Threat assessment. How to spot a sniper position. Where to take cover. When they hung up, Darius felt slightly better. Slightly. He went back to packing. But now he packed differently. Not like someone moving. Like someone who might need to disappear. He packed a go bag. Cash. Fake ID he'd gotten years ago. Burner phone. Everything he'd need if this went wrong and he had to run. And he thought about Yuna. Pregnant with his child. Trapped in that mansion with a monster. I'm sorry, he thought. I'm sorry I can't protect you. I'm sorry I fell in love with you. I'm sorry. His phone buzzed. Email. Hunting trip details, March 18th, 3 p.m. See you there. Slkoa. Darius opened the attachment. Map. Coordinates. Meeting location. Remote. Very remote. Private access road. No cell service. Perfect place for an accident. He took screenshots. Sent them to Marcus. And started planning. If J1 wanted him dead, he'd have to work for it. Because Darius Kim had survived worse than rich men with grudges. And he wasn't going down without a fight. 3 days until the hunt. 3 days for Yuna to figure out how to save a man she couldn't contact. 3 days for Darius to prepare for an attack he couldn't avoid. 3 days for J1 to perfect a murder disguised as tragedy. The clock was ticking. And in the mountains, Park Dongmin was already setting up his sniper position. Testing sight lines. Calculating wind patterns. Preparing to erase a problem. But neither J1 nor Park knew two critical things. 1. Darius Kim was far more dangerous than they realized. And 2. A mother protecting what she loves is the most dangerous creature in the world. The hunt was about to begin. But the hunters were about to discover they'd chosen the wrong prey. 2 days before the hunt, Yuna made a decision. She couldn't call Darius. Couldn't text him. Couldn't reach him through any traceable means. But she could go to him. If she was brave enough to risk everything. If she was smart enough to evade J1's surveillance. If she was desperate enough to bet her life and her baby's future on a chance to save the man she loved. Turns out, she was all three. March 17th, 1 day before the hunt, 11:47 p.m. Yuna had been planning for 48 hours. Not sleeping. Barely eating. Just thinking. Calculating. Preparing for something she'd never done before. Defiance. She stood in her bedroom, door locked, staring at the burner phone she'd bought with cash at a gas station 3 towns over. She'd driven there herself, told the staff she needed air, needed to drive, needed something other than these 4 walls. They'd let her go. Why wouldn't they? She was pregnant. Compliant. Broken. They didn't know she was becoming something else. The burner phone had one number programmed into it. Mr. Choi's landline, the only number she could find that might connect her to Darius. She'd gotten it from an old invoice she'd seen months ago in J1's office, back when they were first investigating Darius. Her finger hovered over the call button. If J1 finds out. But Darius was going to die tomorrow. And if she did nothing, if she stayed silent and safe, she'd have to live with that forever. She pressed call. It rang 4 times. 5. 6. Then, hello? An old man's voice. Tired. Confused. Who's calling at midnight? Mr. Choi? My name is, she paused. Couldn't use her real name. I'm a friend of Darius's. Is he there? Silence. Suspicious silence. Who is this really? Please. I don't have time to explain. Is Darius there? I need to talk to him. It's urgent. He doesn't live here anymore. Moved out last week. Got some money, said he was starting fresh. Why? Her heart sank. Do you have his new number? New address? I have a number. But I don't give out information to strangers calling at midnight. Please. Her voice broke. He's in danger. Tomorrow. There's a hunting trip and it's not what he thinks. Please, I'm trying to save his life. Another long pause. Then, you're the woman, aren't you? The one from the arrangement. Yuna's breath caught. He told you. Didn't have to. I could see it in his face. The way he changed. Came home looking like he'd been through worse some nights. Then started coming home looking like he'd found something worth living for. Mr. Choi's voice softened. He loves you. Didn't say it, but I could tell. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love him too. And my husband is going to kill him tomorrow. Please. I need to warn him. She heard Mr. Choi's sharp intake of breath. Give me your number. I'll have him call you. She gave him the burner number. Tell him not to go on that hunting trip. Tell him it's a trap. Tell him, her voice cracked. Tell him I'm sorry. For everything. I'll tell him. Thank you. She hung up. Now all she could do was wait. And prepare for the worst. Because if Darius didn't call back, if he went to that hunting ground anyway, she was going there too. March 18th, day of the hunt, 7:23 a.m. Darius woke up to a voicemail from Mr. Choi. Darius. A woman called last night. Wouldn't give her name but I know who she was. She said the hunting trip is a trap. Said your life's in danger. Said she's sorry. A pause. I don't know what you're mixed up in, son, but be careful. Call me when you can. Darius played the message 3 times. Yuna. She'd found a way to warn him. Which meant she knew. Which meant Jaewon's plan wasn't as secret as he thought. Darius sat on the edge of his bed, weighing options. He could run. Take his go-bag and disappear. California. Mexico. Anywhere. But running meant Jaewon won. Meant living in fear forever. Meant never knowing what happened to Yuna and their child. Or he could go. Be prepared. Turn the trap around. He'd survived worse odds in prison. In the military. In every moment of his life that had tried to break him. One more fight, he thought. Just one more. He checked his gear. The go-bag was packed. Cash. Documents. Burner phone. And something else, a small hunting knife he'd bought yesterday. Not much against a sniper, but better than nothing. He texted Marcus, going in. If you don't hear from me by 6 p.m., you know what to do. Response, be smart. Be safe. Don't be a hero. Too late for that. Darius dressed in layers. Dark colors. Nothing bright that would make him an easy target. He strapped the knife to his ankle. Put the burner phone in his jacket pocket. And drove toward the Wasatch Mountains. Toward whatever Jaewon had planned. Toward the end of this nightmare. One way or another. 10:34 a.m., Kong Estate. Yuna watched Jaewon prepare to leave. He was in good spirits. Almost cheerful. The kind of mood he used to get before closing a major business deal. I'm meeting with some board members, he told her over breakfast. Shouldn't be back until evening. Rest. Take care of yourself. He gestured at her stomach. Take care of my heir. Liar, she thought. You're going to watch a man die. Of course, she said aloud. Sweet. Obedient. Broken. The mask she'd perfected over 3 years. He left at 11 a.m. She watched his modified SUV pull out of the driveway, parked Dongmin following in a separate vehicle. Yuna waited exactly 10 minutes. Then she moved. She'd packed a small bag the night before. Hidden it in her closet. Dark clothes. Hiking boots she hadn't worn in years. The burner phone. And something she'd taken from Jaewon's gun safe, a small pistol he'd kept for home defense. She'd never fired a gun in her life. Didn't matter. She'd figure it out if she had to. She changed quickly. Left a note for the staff saying she was spending the day at a spa. They wouldn't question it. Pregnant women needed self-care, after all. She took her own car. Not the Mercedes with GPS tracking. The old Honda she'd kept from before the marriage. The one Jaewon thought she'd gotten rid of. She'd kept it. Hidden in a storage unit. For emergencies. This qualified. Yuna programmed the hunting ground coordinates into her phone. 2-hour drive. If she left now, she'd arrive around the same time as Darius. Maybe earlier. Maybe in time. Her hands shook on the steering wheel as she drove away from the estate. Away from safety. Away from the cage. Toward danger. Toward the man she loved. Toward the only choice that mattered. 2:47 p.m., Wasatch Hunting Grounds. Darius arrived early. The meeting point was a dirt parking area at the end of a private access road. Remote. No cell service, just like he'd expected. Mountains rising on 3 sides. Dense forest. Perfect ambush terrain. He parked and waited. No other vehicles yet. He got out. Scanned the area with trained eyes. High ground to the northwest. Perfect sniper position. Rocky outcropping with clear sightlines to the parking area and the trail beyond. That's where he'll be, Darius thought. That's where the shooter waits. He checked his phone. No signal, as expected. The burner phone was off, he'd turn it on only if he needed emergency backup. A vehicle approached. Black SUV. Expensive. Tinted windows. It parked 20 feet away. The driver's door opened. Park Dongmin stepped out. Mid-40s. Fit. Moving with the careful grace of someone who'd seen combat. He wore hunting gear, but there was a bulge under his jacket that wasn't binoculars. Mr. Kim, Park said. Friendly. Professional. Good to see you. I'm Tom, your guide for today. Tom. Sure you are. Where's Mr. Kong? Darius asked. He'll meet us on the trail. His vehicle can't make it all the way here. We're hiking in about half a mile to a better spot. Park smiled. Beautiful area. Great for elk this time of year. There are no elk in March. Sounds good, Darius said. Park gestured toward the trailhead. After you. So you can shoot me in the back? Actually, I need to grab something from my truck first. Give me a sec. Darius walked back to his vehicle. Opened the passenger door. Grabbed his bag, making it obvious. If Park thought he was unarmed and unprepared, good. Let him think that. As Darius bent down, he spotted it in his peripheral vision, a glint of light from the northwest outcropping. Just for a second. Sun reflecting off glass. Scope. There's your sniper. So Park wasn't the shooter. He was the shepherd. Getting Darius into position. Which meant the kill shot would come from distance. Darius stood, shouldering his bag. Ready. They walked the trail together. Park made small talk. Asked about Darius's construction work. About his plans now that he had come into some money. Probing. Seeing if Darius suspected anything. Darius played dumb. Grateful. Excited about the hunting trip. All the while, his mind was calculating. The shooter's northwest. Maybe 400 meters. Elevated position. I need to stay aware of sight lines. Need to. Here we are, Park announced. They'd reached a clearing. Small meadow surrounded by trees. Beautiful. Peaceful. And completely exposed to the northwest outcropping. Perfect kill zone. Mr. Kong should be here any minute, Park said. He's taking the access road from the other side. Has a modified vehicle that can handle rough terrain. Darius nodded. Looked around. Spotted a large boulder to his right. Cover, if he could reach it in time. While we wait, Park said, why don't you test out this rifle? Make sure you're comfortable with it. He handed Darius a hunting rifle. Nice piece. Expensive. Darius took it. Checked the chamber. Loaded. See that target? Park pointed at a tree about 50 yards away. Try a shot. Get a feel for it. And there it was. The plan. Fire the rifle. Loud noise. Covers the sound of the sniper shot. Makes it look like a hunting accident, friendly fire, tragic mistake. Clean. Simple. Untraceable. Darius raised the rifle. Aimed at the tree. His military training kicked in. He could hear the wind. Could calculate trajectory. Could feel the weight of the weapon. Could also hear something else. A second vehicle approaching. Park heard it too. Frowned. That's not. The vehicle came into view. A silver Honda. And behind the wheel. No. No, please no. Yuna. She pulled into the clearing, driving too fast, gravel spraying. She jumped out of the car, and Darius's heart stopped. She looked terrified. Desperate. Beautiful. Darius, she screamed. It's a trap. Don't. The shot came from the northwest. Supersonic cracks split the air. Darius heard it, that distinctive sound of a bullet moving faster than sound. Heard it traveling toward them. Toward Yuna. No. Time slowed. Training took over. Darius dropped the rifle. Sprinted toward Yuna. 5 steps. 4. 3. The bullet was going to hit her. Center mass. Kill shot. Unless. Darius tackled her. Full body tackle. Drove her to the ground behind her car. The bullet hit metal. Punched through the Honda's door panel. Buried itself in the frame inches from where Yuna's chest had been. Stay down. Darius covered her body with his. Park was shouting into a radio. Abort. Abort. Target compromised. Another shot. This one hit Park. Center mass. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The snipers cleaning up witnesses. Darius grabbed Yuna. Run. Back to the trees. They sprinted. Another shot kicked up dirt to their left. Another shattered a branch above their heads. They reached the tree line. Dense forest. Cover. Darius pulled Yuna behind a massive pine. Both of them gasping. Her eyes wild with fear. What are you doing here? Darius's voice was raw. Saving you. You almost got killed. So did you. Another shot. Farther away. The sniper was repositioning, trying to get a better angle. Darius looked at Yuna. Really looked. Saw the determination in her face. The terror. The fierce, desperate love. We need to move, he said. He's got high ground. We need to. An engine roared to life. Not Yuna's Honda. Something bigger. J1's modified SUV came into view at the edge of the clearing. And behind the wheel, J1 himself. He saw them in the tree line. Saw Park's body. Saw the failed assassination. And his face went cold. He picked up a radio. Park Dongmin, complete the objective. Both targets. Both. He wanted them both dead. Darius grabbed Yuna's hand. We run. Now. They ran deeper into the forest. No trail. Just instinct and desperation. Behind them, the sniper fired again. Bullet splintered a tree trunk 2 feet to Darius's right. He's following us. Yuna gasped. I know. Keep moving. They ran for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. Uphill. Rough terrain. Yuna was pregnant and not in shape for this. She stumbled. Darius caught her. I've got you. Stay with me. I can't. Yes, you can. We're getting out of this. Another shot. Closer. They were being herded. Pushed toward something. Darius realized it too late. They broke through the tree line and found themselves at the edge of a cliff. 40-foot drop. Rocky ravine below. Behind them, footsteps. Someone crashing through the brush. The sniper was closing in. Darius turned, putting himself between Yuna and the threat. A man emerged from the trees. 50s. Military build. Carrying a high-powered rifle with a scope. Park Dongmin's partner. Or maybe Park himself had been hit by this guy to cover tracks. Didn't matter. The man raised his rifle. Darius had seconds. He grabbed the knife from his ankle. Useless against a rifle, but... Wait! Yuna stepped forward. Around Darius. Hands raised. Yuna, no. My husband hired you, she said to the sniper. Voice steady despite her fear. I'm Kong Jae-won's wife. That's my baby. She pointed at her stomach. If you kill me, you kill his heir. Do you really think he'll pay you after that? The sniper hesitated. Just for a second. But a second was enough. Darius threw the knife. Military training. Muscle memory. The blade spun through the air and buried itself in the sniper's shoulder. Not a kill shot. But enough. The man screamed. Dropped the rifle. Staggered backward. Darius rushed forward. Grabbed the rifle. Turned it on the sniper. On the ground. Now. The man fell to his knees, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Darius kept the rifle trained on him. Looked at Yuna. You okay? She nodded. Shaking but alive. We need to get out of here, Darius said. J1 still. I'm right here. They turned. J1 had somehow maneuvered his modified SUV through the forest. Impossible terrain, but he'd done it. Money bought the best equipment. He sat in the driver's seat. Window down. Holding a pistol. Aimed at Yuna. Drop the rifle, Mr. Kim. Darius didn't move. I said drop it. Or I shoot her. You won't, Darius said. She's carrying your heir. She's carrying your child, J1 corrected. Genetically. And genetics can be replicated. I can always make her do this again. With someone more cooperative. Someone who understands the boundaries. Yuna's voice was quiet. Deadly. No. You can't. J1 looked at her. Excuse me? I said no. You can't make me do this again. You can't control me anymore. You can't, her voice rose. You took my son. You took my dignity. You took 3 years of my life. But you can't take this. I can take whatever I want. Then shoot me. She stepped forward. Brave. Insane. Go ahead. Shoot me. Kill your heir. Destroy your legacy. Prove that control matters more than anything else. J1's hand wavered. You won't do it, Yuna continued. Because you need me. You need this baby. You need your perfect ending. And if you pull that trigger, you get nothing. Your company's board will tear itself apart. Your mother will hate you. Your legacy will be nothing but questions and scandal. Yuna, J1's voice cracked slightly. I should have fought back 3 years ago. Should have left you the moment you blamed me for something that was an accident. Should have, she stopped. But I'm fighting back now. And if you want to stop me, you'll have to kill me. And live with that choice forever. Silence stretched. J1's gun lowered. Just an inch. I loved you once, he said quietly. Before the accident. Did you know that? I know. And you destroyed it. I destroyed our son, Yuna said. Tears streaming down her face. I destroyed your body. I destroyed our marriage. But I didn't destroy your capacity for mercy. You did that yourself. Jae-won stared at her for a long moment. Then he raised the gun again. Not at Yuna. At Darius. If I can't have you, he said, he doesn't get to either. He pulled the trigger. Darius moved. Yanked Yuna aside. The bullet meant for him hit the wounded sniper behind them instead. Center mass. The man dropped instantly. Jae-won just killed his own assassin. Eliminating witnesses. Darius raised the rifle. Aimed at Jae-won. Dropped the gun. Or what? You'll shoot a man in a wheelchair? Jae-won smiled. Cold. Empty. That'll look great in court. You just tried to kill us. Prove it. Park Dongmin is dead, you saw. The sniper is dead, I just handled that myself. Tragic hunting accident. Rogue guide. I'll be the victim here. The man who lost an employee and nearly lost his wife. He aimed the pistol again. At Darius's head this time. But you? You'll be the unstable ex-con who kidnapped my pregnant wife. Who brought her to a remote location. Who? A shot rang out. But not from Jae-won's gun. From behind Darius. Yuna stood there. Holding the pistol she'd taken from Jae-won's safe. Hands shaking. Eyes wide. She'd fired. The bullet had hit Jae-won's windshield. Didn't penetrate bulletproof glass, but the sound shocked everyone into stillness. Drive away, Yuna said. Voice trembling but firm. Drive away right now or I will empty this gun into your vehicle until something gets through. You won't. She fired again. And again. 3 shots. The windshield spiderwebbed but held. I said drive. Jae-won stared at her. At the woman he'd broken and controlled and punished for 3 years. Saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before. Rage. Real, uncontrolled, dangerous rage. He put the SUV in reverse. This isn't over, he said. Yes, Yuna replied. It is. He drove away. Back through the forest. Disappearing into the trees. Silence. Darius and Yuna stood in the clearing. 2 bodies on the ground. A cliff behind them. An uncertain future ahead. Yuna lowered the gun. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped it. Darius caught her as she collapsed. I've got you, he whispered. I've got you. She clung to him. Sobbing. Shaking. Alive. They were both alive. 4:47 p.m., still in the forest. They sat with their backs against a tree. Catching their breath. Processing what had just happened. We need to call the police, Darius said finally. Report this. He'll have lawyers there before we finish giving statements, Yuna said. He'll spin the story. Make us look. I don't care. Darius pulled out the burner phone. Checked, 1 bar of signal. Barely enough. We have bodies. We have evidence. We have each other, Yuna finished. He looked at her. Really looked. Yeah, he said. We have each other. He dialed 911. And started the process of ending Jae-won's control once and for all. The police arrived 90 minutes later. Found 2 dead bodies. Found a terrified pregnant woman. Found a man with a military record and a history of wrongful imprisonment. And had to decide who was the victim here. The investigation would take weeks. The legal battle would take months. The truth would take even longer. But for now, in the back of a police SUV, hands intertwined, Darius and Yuna had something they'd never had before. Each other. And the fierce, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could survive this together. The hunt was over. But the fight had just begun. The interrogation rooms at the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office were cold and fluorescent and designed to make everyone feel guilty whether they were or not. Yuna sat in one room, a female officer watching her carefully, taking notes as she told her story. Darius sat in another room, 2 male detectives firing questions at him with professional skepticism. And somewhere else in the building, Jae-won's lawyers were already spinning their version of events. The battle for truth was about to begin. Detective Sarah Morrison had seen a lot of strange cases in her 15 years with the department. But this one was going to be a headache. She sat across from Han Yuna in interview room 2, studying the woman carefully. Designer clothes covered in dirt. Expensive jewelry. Pregnant. Exhausted. And telling a story that sounded like either the truth or an incredibly elaborate lie. Let me make sure I understand, Morrison said, keeping her voice neutral. Your husband arranged for you to have sex with Mr. Kim in order to get pregnant because your husband is impotent due to injuries from a car accident you were responsible for 3 years ago. Yuna nodded. Didn't flinch at the harsh summary. And today, you drove to a remote hunting ground because you believed your husband was planning to murder Mr. Kim. Yes. How did you know about the plan? I saw files in his office. Photos. Surveillance. A folder labeled Termination Protocol. Morrison made a note. Did you take any of this evidence with you? Yuna's face fell. No. I didn't think, I was panicking. I just needed to warn Darius. Convenient. It's the truth. Morrison studied her. Yuna met her eyes. Didn't look away. Mrs. Kong, I'm going to be honest with you. Your husband's lawyers are claiming that you and Mr. Kim were having an affair. That you seduced him during what was supposed to be an IVF surrogacy arrangement. That today, Mr. Kim contacted you and asked you to meet him in the mountains. That he killed Park Dongmin and the other victim, whose name we're still confirming, and that you're protecting him out of misplaced loyalty. Yuna's hands clenched. That's a lie. Can you prove it? Silence. Morrison leaned forward. Here's the problem, Mrs. Kong. We have 2 dead bodies. We have Mr. Kim's fingerprints on the murder weapon, a knife that killed 1 victim. We have your fingerprints on a gun that fired multiple shots at a vehicle. We have you, 6 weeks pregnant, alone with a man who isn't your husband. And we have your husband claiming he rushed to the scene after receiving a distress call from his security team. He's lying. Maybe. But he's got expensive lawyers and a reputation in this community. You've got a story that sounds. Morrison paused, choosing words carefully, complicated. It's the truth. Truth and proof aren't the same thing. Yuna felt the walls closing in. The contract. There was a contract. Signed by all of us. That proves the arrangement was real. Your husband's lawyers say that was a surrogacy contract. Standard procedure. Nothing illegal. It wasn't surrogacy. It was, Yuna's voice broke. He made me sleep with Darius every week. Recorded it on cameras. Watched us. Controlled everything. Do you have access to those recordings? No. He has them. And will he provide them? Yuna laughed, bitter and broken. He'll destroy them. Or edit them. Or, he controls everything, detective. That's what you don't understand. My husband is a very powerful man who spent 3 years punishing me for an accident. And now that I've finally fought back, he's going to make me look crazy. Morrison sat back. Studied the woman in front of her. She'd seen enough domestic abuse cases to recognize the pattern. The control. The isolation. The way powerful men weaponize the system against their victims. But she'd also seen enough false accusations to know that desperation made people creative with the truth. I'm going to be straight with you, Morrison said. Right now, the evidence is messy. Mr. Kim killed 1 man, we have that confirmed. You fired a weapon. 2 men are dead. Until we sort out who's the victim and who's the perpetrator, you're both being held. You're arresting us? Not yet. But you're not free to leave either. Morrison stood. Get some rest. Let the lawyers fight it out. And Mrs. Kong? If your husband really is what you say he is, we'll find the proof. But you need to help us. Think about what evidence exists. What we can subpoena. What will hold up in court. She left. Yuna sat alone in the interrogation room, hands on her stomach, and wondered if she'd just traded one cage for another. 8:15 p.m., interview room 4. Darius had been through interrogations before. Prison had taught him how they worked. Stay calm. Tell the truth. Don't elaborate. Let them prove you're lying, don't help them. The 2 detectives, Morrison's partners, Ramirez and Chen, were playing good cop/bad cop. Textbook stuff. Let's go through this again, Ramirez said. The bad cop. You throw a knife at an armed man. The knife kills him. That's homicide. Self-defense, Darius corrected. He was aiming a rifle at us. Or he was aiming at you because you'd kidnapped Mrs. Kong. I didn't kidnap anyone. She came to warn me. Warn you about what? That her husband was planning to kill me. Why would a wealthy businessman want to kill you? Because I was sleeping with his wife. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. So you admit to having an affair? I admit to fulfilling a contract he created. He hired me to get his wife pregnant because he couldn't. Then when it worked, he decided I was a loose end. That's quite a story. It's the truth. Lewis leaned forward. Good cop. Darius, we want to believe you. But you have to admit, this sounds unlikely. A man hiring someone to sleep with his wife? Recording it? Planning a murder? Rich people do weird shit, Darius said flatly. And Jaewon Kong is richer than most. Even if we believe the arrangement was real, Lewis continued, that doesn't prove he tried to kill you. Maybe the hunting trip was legitimate. Maybe Park Dongmin went rogue. Maybe. Park Dongmin was following orders, Darius interrupted. He works for Jaewon. This whole thing was a setup. I was supposed to fire my rifle, covering noise, while a sniper killed me from distance. Make it look like a hunting accident. And Mrs. Kong just happened to show up? She was trying to save my life. Or, Ramirez cut in, you two planned this together. Lure J1's security to a remote location. Kill them. Claim self-defense. Then what? Run away together? Raise the baby and live off the $250,000 he paid you. Darius's jaw tightened. That's not what happened. Prove it. I can't. Not yet. But the evidence is there. Phone records. Financial transactions. Surveillance footage J1 has been keeping. Subpoena his servers. You'll find everything. His lawyers won't let us near his servers without a warrant. And to get a warrant, we need probable cause. Right now, all we have is your word against his. Darius felt the trap closing. So what happens now? Now? Ramirez stood. Now you sit tight while we investigate. Don't leave town. Don't contact Mrs. Kong. Don't do anything that makes you look more guilty than you already do. Am I under arrest? Not yet. But you're a person of interest in a double homicide. So stay available. They left. Darius put his head in his hands. He'd survived the hunt. Survived the bullets. Survived J1's trap. But now he was caught in a different kind of trap. One built of laws and lawyers and doubt. 10:47 p.m. outside the sheriff's office. Una stepped out into the cold night air, exhausted and scared. They'd released her 3 hours after the interrogation. No charges yet. But Morrison had made it clear, don't leave Utah. Don't talk to Darius. Don't do anything that looked like coordination. A black town car waited at the curb. Una's stomach sank. J1's driver. She almost ran. Almost got back inside the building. But where would that get her? She walked to the car. The back door opened. J1 sat there. Calm. Composed. Like he hadn't just tried to commit murder. Get in, he said. I'd rather walk. It's 15 miles to the estate. And you're pregnant. Don't be stupid. Una wanted to refuse. Wanted to call an Uber. Wanted anything other than being trapped in a car with him. But exhaustion won. She got in. They drove in silence for 5 minutes. Then J1 spoke, that was foolish. What you did today. You tried to kill us. I tried to tie up loose ends. There's a difference. Una stared at him. You're insane. I'm practical. Mr. Kim was a complication. You were becoming a complication. I solved the problem. You failed. Did I? J1 smiled. The police think you're either a victim or an accomplice. They think Mr. Kim is either a hero or a murderer. They don't know what to believe. And while they're investigating, I'm controlling the narrative. My lawyers are already crafting our story. By the end of the week, you'll be the tragic wife who was seduced by a dangerous man. I'll be the devoted husband who nearly lost everything trying to save you. That's not what happened. It's what people will believe. He looked at her. You have a choice, Una. Come back home. Raise our child quietly. Play the role you've always played. And I'll make this go away. The investigation will conclude it was a tragic misunderstanding. Mr. Kim will take the blame. And you'll be safe. Or you keep fighting. Keep telling your version of the story. And I'll make sure Mr. Kim is charged with murder. I'll make sure your name is dragged through every tabloid. I'll make sure our child grows up knowing their mother chose a criminal over their father. His voice went cold. I can make your life hell, Una. Worse hell than the past 3 years. Is that really what you want? She looked at him. This man she'd married. This man she'd loved once. This man who'd become a monster. Yes, she said quietly. What? Yes. That's what I want. Because hell with the truth is better than paradise with a lie. J1's mask slipped. Just for a second. She saw rage. Hurt. Something wounded. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. They drove the rest of the way in silence. When they reached the estate, Una got out without looking back. She went to her room. Locked the door. And finally let herself break down. 3 days later, March 21st. Detective Morrison sat at her desk, drowning in paperwork and conflicting stories. She'd been investigating for 72 hours straight. And the more she dug, the messier it got. On one hand, J1 Kang's story was clean. Documented. Backed by expensive lawyers and character witnesses. He was a respected businessman. Philanthropist. Community leader. On the other hand, Una's story had details that rang true. The kind of details that couldn't be faked. And Morrison's gut, honed by 15 years of listening to victims, said the woman was telling the truth. But gut feelings didn't hold up in court. She needed evidence. Her phone rang. Morrison. Detective, it's Judge Alvarado. You requested a warrant for Kong Industries' private servers. Yes, Your Honor. We believe there may be surveillance footage relevant to our investigation. I've reviewed your request. It's thin. You're asking me to authorize a search of a prominent businessman's property based on the testimony of two people who both had intimate relationships with the deceased victims. With respect, Your Honor, there are inconsistencies in Mr. Kang's story. And if the surveillance footage exists, that's a big if, detective. And Mr. Kang's lawyers are arguing invasion of privacy. Overreach. Unless you can give me something concrete, something that establishes probable cause, I can't authorize this. Morrison's jaw tightened. What if I told you we have a witness? Silence. Then, what witness? Mr. Choi Byung-ho. Darius Kim's former landlord. He received a phone call the night before the hunting trip from an unknown woman warning him that Mr. Kim was in danger. We traced the call to a burner phone purchased with cash in Summit County. And the gas station where it was purchased has surveillance footage showing Mrs. Kong buying that phone. That proves Mrs. Kong knew about the trip. Doesn't prove her husband orchestrated it. It proves she was trying to save Mr. Kim, not conspiring with him. Another pause. Get me phone records. Prove that burner phone never contacted Mr. Kim directly, only Mr. Choi. Prove Mrs. Kong had no way to coordinate with Mr. Kim. If you can establish that, I'll reconsider the warrant. Thank you, Your Honor. Morrison hung up and immediately called her tech team. I need phone records. Burner number ending in 3847. Full call log. And I need it yesterday. On it. She leaned back in her chair and rubbed her eyes. This case was going to make or break her career. If Jae-won really was the monster Yuna claimed, Morrison wanted him buried. If Yuna was lying, Morrison wanted to know why. Either way, the truth was out there. She just had to find it before Jae-won's lawyers buried it forever. March 24th, 1 week after the hunt. The phone records came back. Morrison spread them across her desk, highlighting key points. The burner phone Yuna had purchased made exactly 3 calls. To Mr. Choi's landline the night before the hunt. To 911 after the shooting. To nothing else. No calls to Darius. No texts. No coordination. Which meant Yuna's story held up. She'd warned Mr. Choi, not Darius directly. She'd acted alone. More evidence. Financial records showing Jae-won paid Park Dong-min $500,000 the week before the hunt. No documented reason. Cell tower data showing Jae-won's phone was in the area of the hunting ground when he claimed to be at a board meeting. An anonymous tip, from where, Morrison didn't know, providing coordinates to a storage locker. Inside, a sniper rifle. Registered to a shell company Jae-won controlled. It was enough. Morrison called Judge Alvarado. Your Honor, I have probable cause. Show me. She sent the evidence. Waited. 10 minutes later, warrant approved. Serve it today. Morrison smiled. Let's go get him. 5:47 p.m., Kong Estate. Jae-won was in his office when the doorbell rang. He wasn't expecting visitors. Min Young answered the door. A moment later, her voice came over the intercom. Sir, the police are here. They have a warrant. Jae-won's blood went cold. Tell them I'll meet them in the foyer. He wheeled out of his office with his lawyer, already on site, because Jae-won always kept lawyers close, at his side. Detective Morrison stood in the entryway with 4 officers and a tech specialist. Mr. Kong, she said. Professional. Cold. We have a warrant to search your private servers and any surveillance equipment on the premises. Jae-won's lawyer stepped forward. This is harassment. My client has cooperated fully. Your client lied about his whereabouts during a double homicide, Morrison interrupted. Cell tower data puts him at the scene. Financial records show suspicious payments. And we have evidence of premeditation. She looked at Jae-won. Either you give us access to your servers, or we tear this place apart looking for them. Your choice. Jae-won stared at her. Calculating. Weighing options. The servers are in my office, he said finally. I assume you'll want the surveillance system as well. We will. He led them to his office. The tech specialist immediately got to work. It took 30 minutes to download everything. Files. Footage. Logs. When they were done, Morrison looked at Jae-won. We'll be in touch. They left. Jae-won sat in his office, alone, and realized for the first time in 3 years. He might lose. March 27th, 10 days after the hunt. The footage was damning. Morrison watched it with her team in a conference room. 12 weeks of encounters between Darius and Yuna. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And the progression was undeniable. Week 1 to 3, mechanical. Uncomfortable. Clearly transactional. Week 4 to 8, conversations. Increasing intimacy. Both of them becoming more human. Week 9 to 12, love. Clear, undeniable love. But more importantly, evidence. Audio of Jae-won instructing staff to ensure Mrs. Kang completes her obligations. Files labeled Genetic Selection, DK. Emails between Jae-won and Park Dong-min discussing contingency plans. And the smoking gun, a video file dated March 15, 3 days before the hunt. Jae-won and Park in this very office. Morrison played it. The American is becoming a problem, Jae-won's voice, clear as day. He's developed feelings. So has she. That's unacceptable. What do you want me to do? Park's voice. Arrange a hunting trip. Make it look accidental. Complete erasure. I want him gone. Morrison paused the video. Looked at her team. We've got him. March 28, 8:23 a.m. Morrison called Yuna. Mrs. Kang, I need you to come to the station. Am I being arrested? No. But I have something you need to see. An hour later, Yuna sat in Morrison's office, watching the surveillance footage. Watching herself transform from ghost to human. Watching Darius bring her tea and ask about Minho. Watching them fall in love. And watching the video where Jae-won ordered her lover killed. When it was over, Yuna sat in silence, tears streaming down her face. This is evidence, Morrison said gently. This proves everything you said was true. Your husband orchestrated the hunting trip. He intended to commit murder. And we have him on tape. What happens now? Now we arrest him. We charge him with attempted murder. Conspiracy. And depending on what else we find, possibly more. He'll fight it. Let him fight. We have the truth. Yuna looked at Morrison. Can I see Darius? Not yet. Not until the trial's over. But, Morrison smiled slightly. Between you and me? He's been asking about you every day. He's worried about you. About the baby. Fresh tears fell. Tell him, Yuna whispered. Tell him we're okay. Tell him to hold on. Tell him, her voice broke. Tell him I love him. I will. March 28, 2:47 p.m. They arrested Jae-won at his office. In front of his board. In front of staff. In front of the community he'd built his reputation in. Detective Morrison read him his rights while cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. Kang Jae-won, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and coercion. You have the right to remain silent? Jae-won sat in his wheelchair, hands cuffed, face blank. But as Morrison led him away, he looked back at his office one final time. At the empire he'd built. At the control he'd wielded. At everything he was about to lose. And for just a second, his mask cracked. He looked like what he was. A broken man who'd confused revenge with justice. A broken man who'd lost everything that mattered while trying to punish someone for taking it away. A broken man who'd finally run out of people to blame. The trial would last 3 months. Jae-won's lawyers would fight every charge. But the surveillance footage was irrefutable. The jury would deliberate for 6 hours. And when they returned with a verdict, the world would finally see Kang Jae-won for what he really was. Not a victim. Not a grieving father. Not a man seeking justice. Just a man who'd wielded power like a weapon. And forgot that weapons can turn on their wielder. But for Yuna and Darius, the real question wasn't about Jae-won's fate. It was about theirs. Could two people who'd met in the worst circumstances possible build something real? Could love survive when it was born in a cage? Could they become something other than what they'd been forced to be? The answer was coming. And it would change everything. 6 months after the arrest, Yuna stood in a hospital delivery room, hand gripped by someone who'd become more than a stranger. More than a contract. More than a mistake. He'd become her future. And together, they were about to meet the tiny person who'd started this whole impossible story. The person who would finally set them both free. September 14th, 6 months after the hunt. In the case of the state of Utah versus Kang Jae-won, we find the defendant guilty. Yuna sat in the courtroom gallery, 8 months pregnant, and felt the weight of 3 years finally lift. 15 years. Jae-won would serve 15 years. As they wheeled him out, their eyes met one last time. She saw regret in his face. Too late. September 28, 3:47 a.m. The contraction started at 2 a.m. Darius arrived in 12 minutes, wild-eyed and terrified. I've got you. At 7:23 a.m., as the sun rose over the Wasatch Mountains, those same mountains that almost became their grave, a baby's cry filled the delivery room. It's a boy. They placed him on Yuna's chest. Tiny. Perfect. Beautiful. Kim Dae-young, Yuna whispered. DJ. Darius touched the baby's hand, tears streaming down his face. He's perfect. 3 months later. The adoption was finalized. Darius was legally DJ's father. Outside the courthouse, he knelt in the December cold. Han Yuna, I know how we started. But somehow we found something real. Something worth fighting for. He pulled out a simple silver ring. Will you marry me? Yes. God, yes. The end. Thank you for staying with me. If you made it here, if you felt every moment of Yuna and Darius's journey, I need you to do something for me. First, drop a broken heart or red heart in the comments. Let me know if this story hit you the way I hoped it would. Second, subscribe. Right now. These stories take days to craft, and your subscription tells me to keep going. Don't let this be the last story you hear from this channel.